us. And for anyone else who's watching, thank you in advance for the work that you're doing on the articles summaries. First of all, just to recap Michael's advice, the main purpose of looking at the research, obviously, is to inform kind of how the reputation system can be developed on our platform in a meaningful way. So first, making sure that in the articles we look at what the main research question is. Usually find that in the abstract. Quickly read through the intro to find the underlying high-level kind of approach, and then skim through the body, because a lot of these articles are very chunky. Actually, I had to print them off. My eyes were going funny on the computer. So skimming through that, looking at the conclusion, pulling out the main points and making sure that you understand what they did, and then going back through and picking details if you've got a lot of time. Yeah, anyway, so on that note, I suppose a few things. First of all, perhaps summarizing some of the issues that people have been raising in Slack and in chat. There have been issues around this kind of 4-star or 4.5 or 4.8 star rating, and whether everyone should be having this kind of high rating, and what we can do to kind of have more informed ratings. Also, there's recent discussion about ongoing feedback throughout the milestones compared to what traditionally crowdsourcing platforms have, which is the end of task feedback, and kind of what we might want to do, what kind of research we might want to do to unpick that. Also, there's been a lot of chat about onboarding newbies to the platform. How do we do this? How do we want to support them? What kind of mechanisms do we want in place for getting people kind of started out with work on the platform, meaningful work on the platform? And also there's, in the past we've been chatting about whether or not we want to look at kind of incubators where people can join kind of a set of people working on different tasks to be able to prove their skill level and maybe gain some reputation points or stars in some sort of system there. And also looking at maybe whether mentoring might play a role in the reputation system. Yeah, so basically what we're looking at now is summarizing the previous work that participants in the spring had done on reputation systems. And to be honest with you, I haven't worked my way through all of that, so I'd love to hear if you know what ideas you guys have gleaned from previous work that's been done. And also then we'll just have a chat about some of the articles, and then also we need to start looking at other platforms' reputation systems to see kind of the ins and outs of what's out there and what works and what doesn't work. So on that note, that's a lot of talking on my part. So on that note, maybe I'll pass it over to Ryan or Dilrukshi to give us your thoughts and comments, opinions.
Yeah, Ryan, do you want to go first?
Sure. So let's go ahead and just talk about the paper I read. So I read a paper by one of the professors here in Santa Cruz, because they do actual reputation systems work. Their paper is a little used with reputation.
Oh, I'm losing you a bit.
Yeah, I'm losing.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the connection is not so great.
If we, Dilrukshi, if we mute our voices, then sometimes it works better.
Okay.
Everybody. Okay. Give me a thumbs down if you guys can't hear me. All right, so I'll take that as good. All right, so the paper I read was about content-driven reputation rather than user feedback in any way. So it was more so about how looking at the quality of a contribution made inside of a collaborative system. And so to essentially create just a really way to just keep track of content as well as what's been updated, and have a way of updating users' reputation through providing those benefits to them. Does everything make sense so far?
I just caught bits and pieces of it. So it's based on updating the system. It looks at what the system, what the worker produces versus what the feedback is given. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, there's actually no feedback given as the whole point of it. It's all about how, so say I'm working on a collaborative document, like we're all just making one big paper, just like our WISP paper. And so what they would look at is the system is, okay, what's the previous edition before I make my edits? And then what I make that actually measure a distance between the two. And then they're trying to essentially check to see how well my edits last.
Okay, it was cutting out a bit, so I'm not sure I got the gist. Dilrukshi, did you catch?
Yeah, perhaps it's mining the content of the conversations, is it?
Yeah, it's looking at what did I change and how long did that change last in the first instance.
That's one of the aspects, and I think the Rijul's paper, as far as I can remember, they were mining about the comments, the feedbacks, what have they, the workers have exchanged, so that they make out of a variables and then did a regression model as to find out which variables do better in having a good reputation. So those are all into content analysis, I guess. But the recent paper or the recent research in the teapot, I think it's Stanford research ongoing now, or perhaps they talk about a really different model. That is the trust network, where I reference to some other person who's common to us, like a mutual one, so that we can, their argument is like, if we can produce some reference that known to the other one, that increase the trust.
And do you also mean, like, when you say reference, when we refer someone else, you mean a worker who knows another worker who's a good worker would get a referral and then could join the system to work? Is that what you mean?
In that paper, what, for example, let's say I try to get a work. So when a requester requests me, I produce a reference where the requester is, I mean, we both know at one point, two people know to one. I really don't know how to say it, but let's say A and B know to C. Then that that knowing this person C enhance the trust.
Okay, and then how do they talk about how that's demonstrated in a kind of a like in a way like that other people can get information on workers and requesters, like some sort of, does it relate to a star rating system at all, or not?
It's all go in a reference system, I guess. Like if you can produce somebody who's sometimes you can bring them to the network as well, but sometimes outside the network as well. So that only point is like, you know, hey, I know this person. Do you know? I mean, the system itself produce sometimes like just take the LinkedIn profiles. Like when you try to connect to somebody, it gives the similar networks, right? So that you know, okay, this person is known to the other person. So that increase, like, you know, I should be get connected to this person, like that. So that kind of a model.
Okay, so in this platform then, the kind of social connections would play an important role then.
That's right. That's what the paper has emphasized, and I think the social dynamics of this relationship and then referencing has a lot to do, I think. I mean, rather than it's just not the analysis of you know, the ratings and then, you know, how happy you are with the worker, so that it will increase.
Right. With something like that then, I think there was some discussion in the past too about which profiles we can bring into this platform, whether it's like a LinkedIn profile or a GitHub profile. And I wonder if we need more discussion about whether I know, and then there was a lot of discussion about whether people should be allowed to remain anonymous or not anonymous, or we have to make it so everyone's kind of who they are in the real world, or And then there was discussions too about whether or not workers on the platform could be parts of collectives or just workers on their own. There's all sorts of things that need to be unwrapped, really. It's
Well, I
not
think the idea of
just
a collective. Oh, sorry. I think the idea of a collective actually really works with what you were just saying about how reputation networks, in a sense, like if I'm really good at working something and I know somebody else, and that kind of helps out with their reputation as well.
Yeah, yeah. And also I think collectives work really well where there's some sort of a skill shortage. Like I keep finding for myself in Slack how many different skills I don't have, but also how very quickly and very easily we can just reach out and somebody in the crowd knows what to do. And I think maybe for tasks that like completing tasks that might be a good way forward. We maybe should give more thought to this as well. So say I don't know, like say somebody's completing a task and people generally know when they don't have the skills that they need to kind of finish it to the standard that they feel is expected. So to be able to reach out to another worker to help link up to finish a task. I mean, I'm thinking macro tasks really when I'm talking about this, but I'm wondering how it could relate to the whole platform in general. I don't know. And then there's issues about splitting the final payment, and there's all sorts of things tied up in there. But
So to increase the reputation in a profile, there could be a lot of aspects, like a lot of variables that matters to make you, sort of trusty person. One, in that sense, we can look all the data minings as well, like how far you have been in the system and how far that you have connected to the others, how far that you have posted jobs. All that matters, as well as the social dynamics as well. I mean, how well do you know to each other? So it's a 360-degree things that matters. In our case, we have to be specific on what are the exact fields that we are going to take to empower the reputation, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a big job, this. I mean, and it's not. I mean, in some ways, we need a proper big discussion with a lot of people on this platform about it, because I know a lot of work has been done and talked about in the past on this, and I'm wondering if in some ways we're going over things that have been discussed, and but I still think there's a lot to unpick and a lot to put together to be sure we've got something that's robust and also something that I don't know that fundamentally increases trust and power for both the worker and requester. They are respecters as well, of course.
And what's your Ryan? What's your opinion now? For example, I can bring another example from that balloon thing. MIT, it's called Utra or something. That White House released a balloon, and then the crowd were asked to find where's exactly the location of the balloon. So it was the MIT team in the data science won that because they use crowdsourcing method where they given the crowd if they can recruit people known to each other, so that the network itself gave them the information, say, okay, I'm calling my friend over California, say, can you see up on the air? If you see that that edge will get recognized, and then later on the friendship or the known networks will found the balloon much more effectively than unknown people.
That was their findings?
Yes.
Right. I didn't read that one. Oh, can't hear you, Ryan.
Testing.
Okay, testing was successful.
Okay, cool. Okay, yeah, I turned the video off. Hopefully that would help that out. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting problem because we not only have that issue with reputation as the ability just to get the work done, but we have the definitely was brought up before is reputation and skill. Like, what is? I mean, one that's always brought up is what kind of level is this person at in a programming language? And it's that kind of sense of like, well, then in a sense, it's saying what your skill is and what's your reputation for that skill, and then how do we actually have somebody advance in that way? And that's kind of why I've really been interested in content driven, because that seems a really obvious choice right away. Obviously, this is going to be the over-encompassing answer to us because we have a lot bigger reputation problem than just how somebody has a skill.
Oh, I didn't
But
hear
that's kind of where
I didn't hear the last two bits there.
about the contributions is kind of what I think is a good way of measuring skill in a specific area.
What kind of contributions?
All part of the interactions?
Sorry, what was that?
Did you mean all part of the interactions as contribution, or do you specifically say that this is the contribution that, for example, if they chat on the platform, that contribution as well, taken as well. So when you measure the contributions, the contribution itself is broad. Do you have specifically directions like,
Yeah, just kind of like how it's the kind of the big problem of measuring what was the quality of a contribution made. That's kind of the big question a lot of the papers I've looked at are kind of trying to answer, and some of them are just kind of.
When you say contribution, do you mean task completion contribution, or do you mean?
Yeah, I'm thinking of it definitely kind of a macro sense. In a micro, it's kind of a little bit of a harder problem, and I think that just looking at other systems might be a good one for that. Specifically, like, well, was the work accepted or not? But in a macro sense, I'm assuming for a lot of projects that can have many iterations of whatever we're working on, and it just kind of has the idea of like, well, okay, if I make any type of contribution, and then somebody who looks at a newer version accepts that contribution as like, okay, this actually looks good. I don't need to go and edit myself. That's kind of a quick way of just saying, okay, this contribution actually has some sort of quality to it.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I think you kind of can infer that they might have a good reputation, and specifically toward that contribution and what skill they use that contribution.
I think you've highlighted a really good point there, a really good point that I haven't thought about before. At the moment on crowdsourcing platforms, reputation is about all the tasks that workers or all the tasks that requesters post or complete. But in there, different workers use different skills to complete different tasks. And I wonder if, because you mentioned about the skills there, I wonder if we need to further think about how the reputation is tied to a specific skill. Because say a worker does a logo work and he gets a 3-star rating and he thinks, oh boy, I better brush up my skills there. But then he goes back to doing, I don't know, wedding photoshopping things, and he always gets 5 stars there. So he's got, say, kind of a 4-star rating because of this dodgy logo work he did here, whereas he was doing 5-star work over here. In a way, he's got kind of two different. I wonder if reputation should be linked somehow to the skill, the specific skill.
That has to go with the skills as well, because if it go to the skills, then it solves the exact problem that I had. Do you remember, like, I had all the skills, I had all the postings, but it's just that I never got a job because I haven't got experience. So if we can figure out something to link with the skills, of course, then the newbies get a chance too, right?
Yeah, and also I think it gives a good way to ensure that workers update their skills. If, for example, it's linked to kind of, if we have a way that the platform has a kind of a way of delineating all the skills, then once those skills kind of evolve or even subdivide, then the workers could be informed that their skill area needs updating, and also the reputation for that skill could also split. I mean, what? Maybe, I don't know, but then I suppose workers don't want lots of different reputations. I don't know how. I wonder, or maybe it would all form one reputation rating if we wanted to go with ratings. Maybe we don't, but if we went with ratings, one reputation rating, but you could click it to see specific, say, logo work or design work, or I don't know, even like, you know, whatever else the person does, and then be able to see. Go ahead.
I definitely think that makes sense, and like thinking of a viewpoint of being a requester, it's like, well, I need somebody who has X skill, and I'm going to go search for people who have that skill, and of course, obviously, want people who have good reputations with that skill. I think that kind of right away makes it, I think, easier for requesters trying to find the right people instead of just an overall like, okay, cool, these people are a good worker, but do I know if they're a good worker at what I want to do?
And I think also it would protect workers, because if they're getting a poor rating in something that they're just trying out for the first time, you know, say they're experts, 5-star ratings, for fantastic in this one area, but they want to branch out and try a new area as well. They don't want to harm their good rating there. You know, it would. I think it would give more opportunities for workers to kind of take on different areas of work if they wanted to, in kind of a better way. And also, I wonder too if we want to really think about this kind of incubator or mentoring thing to begin with, to be able to give people stars, if we go with star ratings, to begin with. Because I know I was talking to another fella the other day at my kids' martial arts class. I keep talking to all these random people during the kids' extracurricular activities to gain requester insight. But this fella mentioned how he had called around, he looked on Google for somebody to come and fix his kitchen cupboard. It's been bothering him for 2 years. He just finally wanted to get this fixed. He phoned around and he got a quote for $200. Australia is very expensive for any handyman work. $200, $180, and he thought, what's going on? So he popped online and he thought, you know, because he, you know, I talked to him about Freelancer, my stuff that I've been doing on there. Actually, it was his wife that referred me to Freelancer to begin with, so I don't know why she didn't tell him to hop on Freelancer or TaskRabbit. Anyway, so my point is, he went on to TaskRabbit. He posted his task. Within kind of 5 minutes, 4 people in the Canberra area popped on and said, look, I can do this for you for $25, $30, whatever. So he said his process was, he went through there, and there were, you know, 3 people who didn't have any ratings at all, and 1 person who had a star rating of 4 out of 5. And in the end, he said he felt he had to go with the guy that had 4 out of 5 because he had a rating. He said that's the only reason he went with him, because he had that rating. And Dilruk, you mentioned how hard it was for you to get on board, you know, try these crowdsourcing or work on the crowdsourcing platforms in Japan, because people wouldn't, you know, you couldn't find any jobs because you didn't have any, you know, you couldn't get on the platform because you hadn't done work. You know, onboarding was a difficult process. So if we had a system where there could be kind of people jump into these kind of circles that do certain tasks and get a star rating to begin with from the participants they work with, as well as whoever is the mentor, then at least they've got that star rating to, you know, to launch into their career online. I don't know.
Yeah, my point is, now when we are thinking of just star rating, we are thinking of the previous systems. We are not thinking something new, you know, something innovative, something which we did not have before. We are sort of framed to the ratings.
Okay, but I wonder, because like the fellow I was talking to the other day, people, what else could there be that people would request?
For example, think about like this. Okay, I search for somebody to fix my cupboard, and then I get a huge list. Let's say it's 10 people, and few off with the star rating, and at the same time, some people without the star rating, but they have. I get a message saying that, okay, Angela knows this person, so she recommends this person because So that, I mean, that also gives us a sort of a trust to get that person, you know, give the job, right? Other
Yeah,
than
absolutely.
rating.
I can see, there's a platform in England called Mumsnet, and the forum on there is similar to TripAdvisor's forum, where people are gurus. They know about all sorts of different very important things, like who to contact as a handyman, who to contact as a babysitter, and on there it allows you to say, kind of, Sue from Sidcup recommended this person, and I knew the person that knew Sue from Sidcup.
That's
So
right.
I could trust the fact that this guy's going to fix my fence or build me a nice fence. Yeah,
Yeah,
that,
like a combination of the system sounds actually great, kind of like in a way of endorsements in a way. Like I'm endorsing this person because I know they can do that, even though they haven't been able to show it on this platform yet.
That's exactly. So that increased the chance of others getting the jobs, right? I mean, as long as you have a good network and being so trusty, so uh, without the
okay.
rating, you get a chance.
Go ahead. I've got, well, no, don't go ahead. I'm going to cut in. No, I'm just kidding. No, I wonder how the star rating affects workers' output. Okay, we're thinking about it, the star rating at the minute, for choosing who we want to work with. As a requester, I look in and I say, oh, 5 stars, I'm going to go with this person, or 1 star, forget that. I wonder, too, when we look at it from the worker's perspective, is my getting a 1 star at the end, if I'm not doing very well, or a 5 star at the end, going to motivate me to do better work? There's also that. And also, if there's ongoing feedback from the requester to the worker, and also from the worker to the requester, say the task isn't very clear, or they're not being very, they're not paying enough, something like this, if the work requirements change. Now I've lost my train of thought, actually. Oh no, so if there's no star rating at the end, what's to motivate people to come out with quality work and quality feedback and quality? What's the motivator?
Well, that's why I think a combination of a content-driven as well as kind of that endorsement network could come in. Is like the endorsement network is well to get your skills on there without actually having to do work, so that way you can get work immediately. But then you have that sense of like, okay, well, how is your content, and then actually getting the quality of your work in also affects the reputation. So that way it's kind of a two-way system. So that way, like, well, if you're doing bad work, but you have a good endorsements, well, you shouldn't have a great reputation because clearly you're not doing stuff done. But like, if you get the good quality, and then there you go, your reputation is going to be staying alongside of those endorsements.
Yeah, I agree. Combination would be a best way to measure the reputation, right? Yeah. Just give me a second.
On that, I got to get going. I'm already running late. Thank you so much for letting me on the call, and thank you for setting up the call. And thanks for recording it, because I'm definitely going to come back and watch this later tonight.
Awesome. Thank you, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for participating.
Yeah, I hope to keep talking about this. I love this area of research.
Yeah, thanks for your input. Really, I mean, I'm kind of new to this whole area, and it is there's a lot of work that we need to do to figure out what's the way forward, eh?
Yeah, I mean, for my research, I mean, other than this work, I am to find out what makes the online learning effective. So effectiveness is a broad concept. So I had to measure how one person is effectively studying online. So for that effectiveness, I had to break down all the factors which affects the effectiveness. For example, it came around 10 different variables after going through with so many ethnographic studies, anthropology, ground theories. So the 10 perspectives were like, whether do you do collaborations, do you interact with the peers, do you interact with the instructor, those 10 factors came into the last one. So we did a statistical analysis to figure out the best 10 quality factors. So just like that, I was wondering, like, if we first just broaden as a broad aspect, we can find out what what are the factors affecting to reputation systems, and then we can do a regression and see what factors really affect, and say, we can take as a model in the end.
What kinds of things do you think then, off the top of your head? 10 factors affecting the reputation system.
One good example is the endorsement, as we said, and then skills, and then the number of works have been done. Just like that, we can state a lot of things.
That's nice. We could do just a little. We could even just have a little wiki that we can add to there. That's a good idea. I think too, what we need to do going forward is to capture all of these different ideas in in one place, because they're all over the place at the minute, aren't they?
Yeah, I think having like a reputation system research wiki might be a good idea.
Yeah, well, we do have the article wiki, but we don't have the kind of specific points affecting reputation system and the different ideas, just all on one page. Here's where we're at, here's where we could go, this is the different bits of information that we need to be able to feed into the system to get this output. Yeah.
Yeah, so another variable could be content analysis, just like that, so everybody can come up. The other variable could be content analysis, as Ryan said.
Content analysis? Content of the completed task, you mean?
The contributions.
Contribution, right.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was that?
I gotta get going.
Okay.
I gotta go. Definitely, I'm gonna talk to you. I'll send a message today, and maybe in a few hours, about. I think having an idea of like having like a wiki page of like, okay, where's our current ideas? Like, not just lit review of like what is our ideas of what is going to influence reputation and how can we possibly gather that. I think that's going to be a great thing to do, and maybe we can all iterate on it in the future here.
Great idea. Thank you for that. I'll put together the wiki. I'll just like pop it up there and say what can influence reputation and what are the ideas out there to
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Thanks a lot, Ryan. Cool.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.